You need to know when the fires actually need to be put out. And you do this by adequately prioritizing the tasks at hand. New big ideas are the enemy of reliable, steady growth. Shiny objects are going to distract you from doing the work that needs to be done. I don't drive a Tesla. And I can promise you that Elon Musk is not up at night wondering why Dan Cotton has not bought a Tesla yet. He's not even worried about me. You cannot offer service to everyone, and that's okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Cheer Biz podcast. I'm your host, Dan Cotton, and today we are talking about 5 hard truths that I've learned in the last year. And number 5 is one that I have never talked about with you. Now, one of my core tenets as a human, as a business owner, as a coach, is that I am always trying to learn. Every freaking day, I am trying to learn. I'm trying to get better. I'm looking for more information. So I don't just make podcasts. I listen to podcasts all the time. I'm always trying to find people who know more than me and grab that information that they're sharing. Now, just about a year ago was the official moment. It'll be August is a year. August of 2024, if you're listening to this later, was the 1 year moment of when I was last employed at the city of Beaverton. Now, I took a long leave of absence from my police work. I left in February, but I was still technically employed. I had it as like my safety net. I could be a little bit more reckless and a little bit more confident in the decisions that I made because I always had a fallback of like I could go back to work. And realistically, that hasn't gone away, but it is a signature moment in time to get to that 12-month with no safety net, full-time entrepreneur. And that's what I do. In that time, I have learned some really hard truths that I want to share with you so you can hopefully compress the time frame of what I learned for you or just avoid them altogether. So if you're in that moment, you can compress that and you can have it last less time or it can take you less time to learn it, or you can just avoid the mistakes or the hard truths that I've had to learn myself. So number 1 is just because someone doesn't buy your product does not mean that the product is bad. We spend a lot of time as business owners assessing, what the customer's response was to our product and did this sell and did people take advantage of it? And so if people are coming in and you are running a program, like let's say you're running a cheerleading and tumbling class and you've heard that they go great and your first 3 people come in and they're like, meh, they don't buy it, or they maybe do it for a couple weeks and then leave. I'm not saying you shouldn't look at the program, but that doesn't mean that your product is bad. Also, if you are running ads, if you're trying to fill summer camps and you just don't get a lot of sales for it initially, again, that doesn't mean that your product is bad. It might mean that your ads are weak and you need to get better at them, but it doesn't mean at its core value that your product is bad because everyone isn't buying it. I don't drive a Tesla. And I can promise you that Elon Musk is not up at night wondering why Dan Cotton has not bought a Tesla yet. He's not even worried about me. So why, as a gym owner, do I spend so much time worrying about all the people that haven't bought, right? If you look at an ad, you go, oh, I had 5,000 clicks and I only had 5 conversions. What did I do wrong? Why did those other 5,000 people not convert over? Well, why am I worried about them at the moment? Sure, I want to look at my ad and I want to assess, but I want to focus on the people that I can give a service to. And the hard truth is that in our industry, you can't offer service to everyone. That's okay. Not everyone is meant to be your customer. Now, you may be from a very small town where you're like, man, there are 2,000 people total here. I could have every single child in my gym and not be overwhelmed. And that may be the case, but oftentimes you're pulling from other towns and things like that. And the reality is that it only can last so much. My gym is in the city of Beaverton, Oregon. There are 45,000 students in the Beaverton School District alone. And I'm surrounded by 4 other cities that are as big or bigger in terms of school districts that are very, very close in close proximity. There's no way. I couldn't have 40,000 kids in my gym. It'd be awesome. I'd be killing it, but I couldn't have that. I want like a fraction of the percentage. I want 1% of that in my gym. And even then I'd be overflowing and I'd need a bigger building. You cannot offer service to everyone, and that's okay. So when someone tells you through their words, their actions, or another way that they're not your client, you need to believe them. And there's really 3 tenets to this that are kind of the hard truth. So 1, when someone tells you that they're not your client because they're haggling over the price or it's too expensive and they just can't afford it, then they're not your client. And I want you to believe them, because if you find a way to make them your client, it is very likely that that person who can't afford the tumbling class that you're offering, but is like scraping the money together, is going to become a headache and ultimately leave feeling dissatisfied. Because when you only have $50 in your wallet and you spend 30 of them, those $30 really, really, really matter. And you want to get a huge value out of it. Versus someone who has $1,000 in their wallet doesn't really care about that $30 that they spent nearly as often. So that's number 1. Number 2 is when someone tells you that they don't like your product or they don't want to be there, or they're those people talking smack and like creating problems in your gym. I'm not a big Bye Felicia fan. I think it's important to hear people out and educate people. But when someone is talking badly about your program or they're unhappy with your gym, then let them go and don't charge them a separation fee. Just say, hey, clearly this relationship isn't working. Good luck. I wish you nothing but the best. Take care. And then the last is when someone skips over your advertising or someone opts out of your email list, let them. Don't stress about it. Someone opting out of your email list, they're doing you a favor. They are letting you know that they are not your client. And it's not something that you should feel bad about. You should be thankful that you now know, and you're not wasting your marketing dollars marketing to this person who's never going to buy from you. Number 2, if everything is a priority, then nothing is a priority. Okay. That actually it's built into the word, right? Prior. Okay. So comes before something else. Okay. If everything has to come first and you're always, running around and everything is a priority, whatever is in front of you is the number 1 priority, then nothing is going to be the priority, because you're always going to get pulled in another direction. And being a great business owner means that you have to realize that like at 90 to 99% of the fires that are burning are not going to put you out of business tomorrow. They're not going to suddenly close your doors. So it's most of the time not an immediate priority. It's something that can wait 20, 30 minutes, maybe an hour, maybe a full day, maybe a couple days, maybe a week. Okay. The things that we oftentimes elevate to being incredibly high priorities are the things that have the lowest possible return. We have a all-star athlete who is unhappy with their level placement, and we spend hours upon hours on the phone with the parents and talking to the athlete and trying to work things out, when ultimately, if they're really that unhappy and you feel you made the right decision, then you need to be able to compartmentalize and move, like say that I'll deal with this tomorrow. I'll have this conversation with you when I have time. But in the meantime, I need to service all of these other things. And this is what is on my agenda. You need to know when the fires actually need to be put out. And you do this by adequately prioritizing the tasks at hand. And so if you are not using a schedule, if you are not time batching your day, if you are not making it so people have to schedule time to use your time, then you are setting yourself up for failure. You ultimately have to be a hoarder of one thing as a business owner, and that is time. Time is the ultimate advantage. The more time you have to execute on something, the better you can make that thing. So business owners who have 30 more years in business are likely going to be able to, they have time on their side to accomplish more within their company than me, who's been in business now for 20 years. And I maybe have another 20 left, who knows, but they have more time to develop their product than I do right now, comparing apples to apples from this moment forward. So you've got to hoard your time, and you got to protect your time, and you've got to make sure that you're not making everything a priority. Okay? You have to set your priorities. This is why strategic priorities and goal setting can be so fantastic within a business. And then you have to address those priorities and avoid the crabs and the quicksand pulling you down and making you focus on things that are not priority. Number 3 is New big ideas are the enemy of reliable, steady growth. Shiny objects are going to distract you from doing the work that needs to be done. And oftentimes the shiny object is the new program or the thing that's going to make you bigger or the thing that's going to get more athletes in the door. And oftentimes bigger leads to more problems. Bigger leads to bloating within the company as opposed to keeping things trim and sleek and fast and effective is going to actually lead to a bigger profit margin, more success long term, and you will gradually get bigger and you won't be chasing all the different shiny objects. This goes back to the execution podcast that I talked about, where you're really just focusing on the execution of what you do and dialing that in, as opposed to spending a bunch of time figuring out what new thing you need to be doing. Now, I'm not saying you never evolve. You do evolve within the constraints of the things that you are currently doing. Avoid the shiny objects. Get off of Facebook. Stop looking for a million different ideas from a million different gym owners. They are all distractions. If you have a business that does not have any revenue and you need ideas on like what are some revenue streams we can take on, that's a little bit different. But if you have a business with at least 2 to 3 revenue streams, which like, come on, you're listening to the Cheer Biz podcast. So it's very likely that you have some sort of competitive cheerleading, hopefully some sort of tumbling classes and birthday parties, or some third revenue stream. If you've got those 3 things going, then become amazing at those 3 things. Try to avoid doing 19 different other things that make it so you participate in everything, but you're excellent at nothing. So you're mediocre at a whole bunch of stuff and you're excellent at 0. Be excellent at the things that you're excellent at and focus on those things. Just be really, really, really amazing. And I'm speaking to you again from someone who has a tendency to do that, right? I own 3 companies. I own my gym, I own Dream Camps, and I own NextGen. And I want all of them to be amazing. Now, luckily, they're kind of vertically integrated. So oftentimes when I'm executing within my gym, those are things that I can then take to NextGen. And when I'm executing within my gym, those are things that I can take to Dream Camps, or it is a benefit to Dream Camps, or Dream Camps is then a benefit to my gym. So those things do kind of mutually talk to each other. But even then, I am dividing my attention. And on top of that, it's really, really hard to be a great coach and a great choreographer and a great business owner of 3 different businesses and a great camp director and a great parent and a great podcaster. It's hard to be good at all those things. You eventually are going to start to dilute the product. Okay, so avoiding those shiny objects and learning how to say no is such a critical thing that you do as a business owner, even if the person you're saying no to is yourself. Number 4 is the 3 biggest investments that I can make as an owner. The 3 biggest and best investments I can make is number 1, in my own knowledge and education. I mentioned I'm always trying to get better. I need to constantly be investing in myself. That's the one thing that can never be taken away from me by an outside source, with the exception of like some horrendous accident where you like lose your brain power, your cognition. But the government can never come and take my knowledge away. They can tax me. They can do all sorts of things. The government can shut down my business like we experienced with COVID, but they can never take away my knowledge. I could get fired from a job, but I'm always going to have that knowledge and that information. So the more I invest in myself and the more I invest in my knowledge and my ability to deliver on my product, the better I am going to be. So I have to continue investing in myself. That's one of the best possible investments I can make, is investing in my own education and my own knowledge so I can become better and better and better, which will relate to number 5 a little bit. Number 2 is an accountant. Now, I know that seems a little bit weird. I'm sitting here saying I'm a business coach. Why wouldn't I say having a business coach is the best investment you can make? And I think it's a great investment and it would correlate to knowledge. But an accountant is one of the best investments that you can make as a business owner. Having a financially healthy business that is set up correctly from a financial standpoint is absolutely mission essential. And if you're ever planning to be in business long term, having a dedicated accountant who knows what they're doing can save you thousands upon thousands of dollars in taxes, fines, other issues that can come up. So spend the money. Stop worrying over the $400 a month you're going to pay an accountant to run your books and make them look perfect. Stop stressing about that. Find a great accountant. We have one that we work with in NextGen. If you're ever looking, her name's Teresa Colster. We can hook you up. We got you. She has experience working with cheer gyms, and this was not meant to be a plug for them, but hire an accountant. Why I'm saying this so emphatically right now is I'm in the process of trying to get a new building. And in the process of trying to get a new building, we are having to provide tons of documentation, profit and loss statements, all these other things. They're coming back and wanting something else. Or we're realizing that our QuickBooks wasn't talking to X, Y, and Z system, and we're having to make things work. And when you have a dedicated accountant who is making sure all of those things are dialed in, then when these opportunities present themselves to get a new building or get a loan or get something else or buy a business, you don't have to wait and sit on the sidelines. You're ready to go, because your finances are dialed in. So financial health is one of the most important things that you can have as a business. And last is in my own family. Because ultimately, as much as I love being a gym owner, as much as I love running businesses, as much as I care about my staff and my employees and my athletes and all of those other things, none of those people are going to be there to wipe my butt when I'm old and senile. They're the people who are going to be with me for the rest of my life. Them and God. That's all I got. I need to invest in those relationships. And if I don't, I'm investing in something that has a lower return, because my family is going to be the highest, longest term return I can possibly get. Number 5, this is the one that I have never talked about before. So I am glad that if you've stayed to this moment. Okay, please pay attention, because this is something that can change your business and change your outlook on everything. The fastest way to reach a goal is to find someone who has exactly what you want, become an expert in how they achieved that thing. So find them, get them to mentor you, even if you have to pay for it, become an expert in that, master it, be their best possible student, get better and better and better and better at it, so you can do it just in your sleep. You have it completely integrated into your business. It is completely functioning. It is achieving what you want it to achieve. And then after you have done that, after you have mastered it as well as they have mastered it, then you iterate on it. Then you change it and modify it and make it better for yourself. Notice I'm saying master the way they do it first and then iterate on it. One of the things that we have a tendency to do as business owners is say, well, I really like their idea, or I really want what they have, but I want to do it my own way. When instead we should be doing it exactly their way, plugging and playing it into our business, making it, becoming experts at it, making it work for us, and then we start to change it and figure out how we can make it better and put our own spin on it. This is absolutely critical. Find the people that have what you want, the gym that you want, the recreational program that you want, the people who have the knowledge for you to get to where you want to be. Get that knowledge from them, implement it, and then from there, iterate on it. And what we do a lot of times is we are iterating before we're mastering, and then everything falls apart. And we use that as a proof positive that what they didn't work for you, when really that wasn't the case. Every time I've had a painful lesson in my business, I try to make a mental note of it. As Vernon Sanders once said, experience is a hard teacher because she gives the test first and the lesson afterwards. It's my hope that as you listen to these 5 hard lessons and hard truths that I've learned over the last year, that they can give you an advantage moving forward, that you now know the answers to the test. You now know these hard truths, so you're more prepared to go into the test and find the solutions, and you don't have to do it purely through experiential learning. And this is why I say investing in your knowledge and finding people who've been there and done the things you want to do and learning exactly from them how they've done it is the ultimate life hack for being a great business owner. It is absolutely worth its weight in gold. And I tell you, I do it daily. I mentor people, but I have business mentors because I have people that are doing things that I want to know how to do. And so I'm learning from them and I'm iterating on exactly I'm taking what they've done and I'm replicating it within my business. And I'm not iterating on it before I have mastered what they are doing. So what I want you to do as you leave the podcast is find your strategies. If you want to survive this crazy sport, you have to have your plan of how you're going to implement these things within your business, or how you're going to avoid these hard truths or deal with these hard truths, I think is actually more accurate than avoiding, because some of these things you cannot avoid. They are just the truth. They just exist. All of these things are manageable if you are aware of them going into it. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope you got something out of these. As always, please share this with someone who would get something valuable at it. Thank you for the last 20 minutes of your time. And with that, we'll catch you on the next episode.